Buckle in, folks. We're going live. It's your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast, and we have a lot of overseas action to talk about tonight because it is AEW All In weekend for the second go-around. Wembley Stadium going down this Sunday, so we're going to look at that show. We're going to look at 1 year ago and what happened at Wembley and how it's a little bit different this year. And to kick things off, folks, we got breaking news because news always be breaking when we're about to do one of these shows. We might have a new face showing up this weekend. So stay with us, buckle in, and get ready. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast starts right now.
Big Gold Belt, 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 Big Gold Belt. All I really want is that Big Gold Belt, 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 Big Gold Belt. All I really need, that Big Gold Belt.
How is it going, everybody? We are here tonight, your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast, Season 4, Episode 27 by my count. That may or may not be right, but hey, we try to keep it accurate. I'm going to be honest with folks. It could be off by a number or two. We got to count it up at some point and make it legit or whatever, since we went to the season and episode format. So
yeah,
we'll do that. If you're on mid-season break, maybe I'll figure that out. We'll have to sort that thing out.
Leave me alone, y'all. Leave me alone.
We got the crew here tonight. To talk about what's going on in wrestling. We got a lot going on this weekend because AEW is back in the UK. So lots of news swirling, lots of rumors happening. We'll get into all of it here tonight. Thanks for being here with us. So to my left at the top of the screen, the editor-in-chief, Two James, is with us here tonight. Below him, we got the giant crab Jamal. And coming back around underneath me on the bottom right is Silly Celis. How's it going, gentlemen, tonight on this fine Thursday?
Marcellus, every week we see some new upgrades.
We're trying. It's years in the making. We're trying. I'm proud.
You know what? Listen, what's funny about this? He's doing all this, and then next week he's not gonna be here because the start of football season.
We getting into those weeks. I got miss this Thursday.
Yeah,
or school. Yeah, we'll see.
Good. Let me quickly say, this past Tuesday, I had the honor to be a speaker at the local podcast movement convention at the National Harbor. And I spoke on a panel about starting a video podcast, understanding your needs as a creator. That was brought to you by Black Magic Designs and League of Filmmakers. So it was really cool. Got to obviously share my experience about starting a podcast here and expanding it. And then ultimately met with a lot of other dope creators and vendors and brands, and just really at the point of where I'm thinking, like, you know, we've been doing this for so long and we got a good flow and things are working, but really had expanded my mind in terms of just how much I didn't know and then how much more we can improve. So it was definitely eye-opening, but it was definitely an honor to speak to it. So whenever that panel comes out, I'll definitely post it along somewhere. But I would suggest for anybody that is in the podcasting space, whether it's video or audio, to definitely keep your eyes out for the podcast movement, their convention next year, because it just wrapped today. It's definitely a place to be. So my first year, definitely something I will have on my calendars for years to come. But it was good. And it was good to be able to represent for us. A lot of good folks had things to say about what I had to say and about what we're doing. And I think that measure of validation feels good, especially to be considered in the space that's outside of our niche in terms of pro wrestling and combat sports. So good times.
And just to add to that, of course, I've been here with you since the beginning, and just for you setting the tone for what you have to do for us and what we started with and where we are now, that just shows tribute to your leadership. So congrats on that. So definitely want to give you your flowers on that, man.
Appreciate it. Now, Will, don't ask me how long it's been and don't ask me how many episodes. And I'm glad no one has asked that. I did get a rough about when did we start and how long we've been doing it, but I cannot confirm or deny if those were accurate stats given because it's just been that long, you know.
It blurs together at some point.
But really I definitely want to say that to back to you all, I definitely appreciate you all's journey with me in this. Each one of you all coming in at a different point, at a different pivotal point, and contributing so much to what we do here, to the point that when I'm not even here, I know in confidence that the show is being ran to my standards and above, and constantly putting out a production for folks to tune into. So you all should pat yourself on the back for what y'all do.
There you go. Pat on the back, Barry Horowitz style. There he goes.
Jamal's like, I don't take compliments, okay? Leave me alone.
All right. We're going to get to the wrestling talk now. We're going to talk about
Let's do
the
it.
latest news that's happening in the wrestling world. So, as I mentioned at the top of the show, it is AEW All In weekend. And I would think with a show that big, Wembley Stadium, their second go around, there had to be some stuff, some little extra stuff that had to happen. So this afternoon, we have breaking news being reported by Fightful. And I see seems to be getting confirmed all around. No one seems to be pushing back on this. So it seems to be happening. Ricochet has landed a multi-year agreement with AEW. And the talk is that he might possibly be London bound this weekend to Wembley to make an appearance in one way or another. So I'm trying to think, what was it? Was it early July or June when he finished up with WWE?
I want to say late June.
Yeah, hasn't been that long. Yeah.
It's been about maybe 2 months, not like a huge amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
This has been rumored for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're here. And Lord knows Wembley makes a lot of sense for, hey, if you're going to have a lot of folks' attention, if you're going to have someone show up, I absolutely get the idea of doing it this weekend. And Lord knows they got a battle royal on the show, and there's tens of other ways they could do it too. I guess initial question to throw to you guys: thoughts on Ricochet making this move? Now that, assuming it's as legit and it's really happening this weekend, and my money would say it probably is. Two James, let's go to you first. What do you think? Ricochet,
I feel like for me, it feels like he ran out of the door of WWE as if like it was some like bad or hostile environment. This transition seemed like it's something that was premeditated for a long time. And, I think as fans, when we kind of dip our eyes behind the curtains, we typically see couples kind of stay very close to one another in this business. And the fact that he recently engaged and Samantha is just be getting more and more attention by her own merit of her work, of course, but the fact of the matter that we see her thriving, and although his storylines wasn't always, ideally the best optics wise, but he stayed relevant. He's always been on TV. He was in the Speed Championship, which has been entertaining and doing good numbers. But to see him get the injury angle, and it wasn't even a discussion. It was like we knew he was gone. So the news of him signing the AEW was like, of course. But then with him signing AEW, and obviously good luck on all the future endeavors in AEW, why not show up at their biggest show? Why sign somewhere and not go? I mean, it doesn't even matter in any sport. If you have an opportunity to appear, to be in the locker room, to be in the stands, to be in the crowd, to get a little bit of camera love, whatever it may be, you want to get that rub. So one way or another, and especially because of how pro wrestling works, he can easily be inserted into any program right now to make it happen, or he could pull a Mercedes Moné and just give a little glimpse in the crowd, and we get excited for what happens next. Only thing I will say, and obviously we can't, we can't. It's a sort of a double-edged sword, but journalists got to do what they got to do. But considering that this was clearly the inevitable, it still would have been nice for this to be just a little bit of a surprise. So I think the reaction to this is not going to be received in the way it could have been, considering all things account for making this happen. I smell a dud coming.
Uh-oh.
So I'll say for me, I think this is something we all expected to happen. I think this is something that we foresee was going to happen. Like when he left WWE, I think AEW was like the only place he probably could go. My thing is this: what now? So he'll make his appearance. He'll be in London, assuming. But what's going to happen from there? To me, I just don't see anything about maybe a 1-2 time event, get a couple of pops here and there, and there's going to be the same old Ricochet. Now, I'm not trying to say that's bad on Ricochet, because I think Ricochet is a fantastic wrestler. I think the problem is these booking agencies, WWE, AEW, don't know how to book him to be the megastar. And I think we all know, as wrestling fans or people that's followed him in the different parts of his career, knows what he can do. But I think these promotions just got to let him flow to what he could possibly be, being a main eventer, contending for a title, and see how it goes from there. I just don't trust AEW to do that next level with him. If they do, I'll be surprised, but I'm just not thinking they're going to do that.
So here's the question, and this is kind of piggybacking off of what you're saying, Celis, is Ricochet a megastar? Let's assume that he debuts, and if he debuts at the right spot, the absolutely right spot, it couldn't have been better. However he debuts, is he a megastar in AEW? And the reason why I asked that question is because they already have a plethora of singles wrestlers that can carry the load all by themselves. Hell, how long have we been talking about how this guy or this guy or this guy should be in that, in that category, elevated to that next level, that championship, that world title level, that major secondary champion level, face of the company outside of that? Ricky Starks, Will Hobbs, for the homegrown type of guys. Obviously, you have guys like Max Friedman. You have Ospreay, who they brought in. Darby Allin is definitely in that category as well, as somebody that could be their specific star. And if we've already named 6 or 7 people, and you want to add one more, AEW's male single roster, I think, is full. And even if it is full, they would need a bigger presence than all of those guys to say that he's going to be the megastar. It took a minute, but I think Mariah May, her coming into the AEW women's division, Toni Storm, her coming into the AEW women's division, maybe Monet next year, will eventually prove dividends. But the point is that the women's side of things is a lot less crowded for one reason or another. It just is. Well, hold on. Okay, I'll make my point, and then I'll let you get in there. I just don't know how you insert Ricochet anywhere in the show, and it's a big deal because he's Ricochet, number one, and because the show is already stacked to the gills. Like, it's already on 100, and you add Ricochet. What do you add?
All right. Yeah. Let me throw this in because we got the audience chiming in here, and this is definitely the kind of stuff I know I'm going to be hearing. So this is perfect. Adrian Arco on YouTube, bringing it with us here. Evening, fellas. Give me King Ricochet doing what he does best. Run it back with Ospreay. I knew that would be first, and I know that's what a ton of people are going to say right out of the gate. Just do him and Will Ospreay.
That's why written in the contract.
Run back 2016. Just put it on replay. Take on Okada. Hopefully an Omega match down the line if healthy. I want great wrestling out of him. That is exactly what their audience is going to say. 5
years ago. AEW's not the company anymore.
Well, that's where I'm coming from. Is when I hear that, it in my head, I'm like, it's 2010s indie wrestling, PWG, ROH, New Japan. It's just rehashing that era again. But a lot of people, for whatever reason, that's what they want, is to rehash that era in AEW.
We love nostalgia for whatever it's worth from pro wrestling. Listen, I'll be quickly with my rebuttals here. I feel like, first of all, your comments, Jamal, about the women, because I feel like the women have still more to prove because they're working against their own system. So the fact that they come in, it's like, we know what they can do, but now that you're on this stage, what are your opportunities that you're going to be given? It's very different for the men because we know what they can do, and they do get those opportunities. They may not last long, but they get them very quick. And the new shiny car toy thing that we always talk about is a repetitive sort of program that everybody gets puts into. But the one thing I will say about Ricochet, and I think Ricochet is a fantastic wrestler. I think he's a great guy from the times I spoke to him. But we got to call it what it is. You said he is. The question is he a megastar? This may not be the best analogy, but this is the first thing I think about when I think about Ricochet. I used to love N1 basketball. The Professor, Hot Sizzle, these folks that were they changed the game in street ball, and they were must watch. So we knew exactly what they could do. And did some of them make it to the NBA? Yes, there's a few, but once they got to the NBA, they played their roles, they had their moments. That's it. They never was the star of their team. They never was going to win any major declarated award at the end of the season, but they played their role, and that's that. Ricochet to me gives me that. He's like, you can put him on a roster, you know what he's going to get, but that ain't something that's either going to win you a championship. It may sell you some tickets, it may bring you some stardom, it may move some merch, but that's just about it. You're not going to get much. And if for whatever reason he feels he needs to go to AEW to prove something, I think that's a personal thing. That it's got to be deep down in the ego of saying, I want to go hang with these boys that we already know you can hang with because you already wrestled across with them all over the world. So at this point now, my question to you all, what does he do in AEW now? We done seen these matches before. He done worked all of these folks all over the world, different promotions. He already showed he can hang in WWE, which is the majors. Going to AEW is something that I would say, if there was a question about your wrestling, that's where you want to go. But we know he can do that. He's already worked productions in terms of Lucha Underground. What's left? What is left? What are we hoping to see at this rate? Please, somebody give me something to be looking excited for. Besides, I don't know, Adrian already said these matches, but we've already seen those. Whoops. So now what?
Well, and I think that's the problem. Go ahead. Go ahead, Craig.
Okay, yeah, I think we're going to say the same thing. I think he wants the AEW, the freedom of AEW. And it's not just, and that I think could evoke some of that 2016, 2017 magic that got him buzz on the internet. Yep. And I think the ability to go out there and craft these stories and without being completely micromanaged in the WWE system, AEW affords that. You just tell Khan you have an idea. He says, all right, cool. We'll put you on Rampage to start, and then we'll work from there. And then, of course, even if he just wants to do it for the love of the game, there's the paywall of honor. So, right, I agree. But there is a place for him, though. Go ahead, Silas.
So one thing I would say is in AEW, and once again, I know I'm probably pro this because I always talk about storylines, and I think that's where AEW struggles. They don't build stories to build stars. And I think what you have with Ricochet is, okay, we got All In. Oh, okay, we got this, make a pay-per-view. Okay, he'll put on a 5-star match. He'll have a hell of spots. But I think that's what you have with them. It's just a spot fest or somebody that will put on a 5-star match. But it's nothing that's going to take him past what he's already now. So when you think about people that's already on the roster, and I'm thinking about Pac, think about Orange Cassidy, he's doing the same thing that they're doing, and they can't even elevate their homegrown talent, and I don't think he'll get past them. Granted, once again, I think Ricochet is a great wrestler, but I think he'll just be a great wrestler on the spot. So going back to what you said, 2 Chainz, I don't think it's anything that's going to get you excited about him being there. Yes, you get to see some of those throwbacks that Arco just said, but just what do you do to grow him as a performer? I don't think you'll have anything like, what you see now, with Swerve Strickland of making him a megastar. I just don't think you get that with Ricochet. And I think that's what you should get to with Swerve.
Well, let me ask you this. Are people that are looking forward to Ricochet and debut, are you looking for a Daniel Bryan-esque run? Because we realize that there's really nothing more for him to gain from AEW.
You better.
You just want to see him go out there and he just hit dingers and
better.
Banger after banger.
Right.
But what I would say is you would hope, but I don't think he's that type of wrestler where you could put him in there. I just don't have the optimism where. Well, go ahead.
Well, I'm just making sure that Jamal's not saying he is Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson. He's saying that Bryan Danielson went in and he just been working wrestling matches. There's been some story around it, but at the end of the day, you see his name next to somebody else. You're like, let's see what that do. That's it. Low expectations, high outcome at times, or moderate outcome at times. It doesn't matter. There wasn't nothing to be like, as Jamal would say, do I need to buy this pay-per-view? Do I need to spend the $70 for that? Maybe not, but I've already seen that. Maybe I'm interested in that. None of these folks are moving. No, especially Will. No one's making Will come off of that VPN to buy this $70 straight up.
Absolutely.
Nobody getting it for 20. Yeah. But and that's based on the rumor of Ricochet. So that leads to the next question of, in the 10 matches that they have, where do you insert him?
There's probably, if I'm looking at it, I think there's 2 options. If you want him to wrestle, then he shows up in the Battle Royal, as an entrant and as a surprise entrant, and he probably wins the thing. If he's not going to wrestle and he's just going to show up, I would not be shocked to see him show up at the end of MJF and Ospreay, and they go right to damn Ricochet and Ospreay. Hell, and I could totally see they redo the Bryan Danielson playbook when he showed up. He showed up at the end of the show, and then what did they do with him? They immediately went to him and Omega as one of the biggest matches they could do at Arthur Ashe. I could see Ospreay and Ricochet and Arthur Ashe as like his first match in September.
Yeah.
That'd be about a month
thinking
away.
at the time of year, it's like it all syncs up, and we know how Tony likes to do shit the same way. You know, he loves his callbacks, he loves his traditions. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what jumps out at me.
And I also just want to save face here. Like, everything I'm saying is not to shit on the brand. It's just to say that, like, at the end of the day, like, we are rehashing a lot of what especially wrestling historians have already seen, and just hardcore fans, because the indies, and I can't even think of the year the year range, but the indies was some of the must-watch things. I mean, people were flying out to see independent shows. Didn't matter what the venue was, didn't matter if they served food or drinks. You just knew you had to go see that match. And Jamal can attest, this was going all over the United States to go to a place
that
that was
out in a church, in a basement church in Brooklyn to see Cody Rhodes.
I'm alive, but I damn sure been to hell once, and that was that day. But I mean, like, the indies was that, you know, and so at this rate now that we're seeing people on the bigger stage doing it, the one thing about pro wrestling is that a lot of these folks work their same style of matches, and especially as they get older, they have to work protected for the longevity of their careers. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we don't want some people out there, and there are the folks that go out there and they literally lay their bodies all on the ground and they can't pick it up off the canvas. We don't want that. So a lot of what we are seeing is what we have already seen, and nobody can deny that. Sure, the crowd can add to it, the venue can add to it and whatnot, but essentially what you're getting in there is a lot of what most of us have seen. So again, when it comes down to what moves the needle at this rate right now, there has not been much from the male end. That has really been something we haven't seen before. The women, whole different story. Definitely could talk about that at a different time.
So to address that statement, I don't think you insert Ricochet at the tail end of Friedman and Ospreay, because I think that Ospreay wins that match in the home crowd, home country, and inserting Ricochet takes away from that moment. But I do think that the actual main event will be Strange, Strickland, and Danielson, which is where it will be an interesting spot to see him inserted there. Because because Ricochet, as far as I'm concerned, needs to be inserted at the top of the heap. Otherwise, put him in the Battle Royal, nobody's going to care.
Okay, good point. Yeah.
He needs to kind of stand out, because and it sucks to be a pioneer, you know, in a way, because the things that Ricochet does, there are many different people of many different sizes and weight classes and everything that does the same ish style. And as much as I like Ricochet, he's not coming out as Prince Puma. So if we're getting Ricochet, what are we getting as that character? And the thing, you don't really remember him for his character work and stuff like that. So we're not getting this dual threat, talent. We're just getting Ricochet. And to be honest with you, they already have Top Flight and Action Andretti. They already have Aramis and Hologram, and they have a bunch of guys. I don't know if Keith Lee is coming back, but they have a bunch of guys that can emulate that high flying style.
And Ospreay's right there. Just FYI again.
I don't like Ospreay, so I forget about him easily. But
yeah, it's there, and that position, that spot has been absolutely been fully maximized at this rate.
I think Ricochet versus Danielson is the move.
That's an interesting matchup.
It does nothing for Dan. Wait, isn't this Danielson's last match?
Danielson's supposedly, got to win the title or else.
Yeah.
Again,
so
I think he wins the title, and I think that Ricochet comes out.
So with that, is it a face versus face matchup? Because when you have that,
that's a conversation for another day too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next Thursday.
Marcel, just where you about to go at when it came down to Strickland and Adam Page, no one knew who to cheer for. This has been a reoccurring thing. it's just a thing where it's never really defined about who's the face, who's the heel some of these times. I mean, even Mercedes Moné, like Willow's clearly a face, and because Willow is the most over wrestling probably in the world, Monet came in as the boss, but she was supposed to be beloved, and also we talked a lot about that, bringing her in her own town, and she's clearly the face, and we're supposed to believe she's the good guy. Then she goes against the good guy.
Well, I mean, she was a face until she cut a promo. She did that to herself.
Well, what we talking about next? I'm done.
Well, we can do a couple things. Are we set on Ricochet here? I think we've covered Ricochet pretty good. Any other thoughts on Ricochet? Right, moving along.
Meh.
Yeah, I think that's kind of. I think I need to see how he shows up, what he looks like, and hell, I didn't see him have a match there. You know,
honestly,
dude's 30. You gotta remember, dude's 35.
If the cat's out of the bag, I just shelve it until Dynamite.
And I even do it this weekend.
And yeah, because they don't. I mean, like really, realistically, they don't need him there. And whatever angle that they were going to do, they could just do it on Wednesday. So that way you could say, well, we didn't promise you that. Stop reading the dirt sheets. And then, also, boom, his music hits. We don't know what it's going to be. He comes out when, of course, the champion cuts his championship promo. And then they start that program. Save it to Wednesday. Fuck them. Fuck the internet. Don't give them what they want.
Hey, where's Adam Cole at right now?
In Pittsburgh.
Missing in action with his busted foot. And
he has a bum ankle, I think, right?
Yeah. Okay. I just okay.
Yeah, but he's on the mend. Like he's like legit on the mend. I think I heard that he was resuming training, but yeah, he's nowhere close to getting back in the ring though.
I don't know if we got time, but I'll just throw this out there, and I don't know when or if we talk about it. But like with Ricochet adding to the roster, obviously somebody else will be affected by this, which means that because the time is the time for these shows, except for pay-per-views because they go forever. Yeah. But the time is the time on the weekly televised shows.
Well, let's do
coming
this.
In, who's out? Let's
do this because we'll do our halftime. Let's come back to Indie Spotlight, and then let's look at the card for Wembley. We got the card now. Give us the list of who's being featured, who's on there, all that kind of good stuff. And I think there'll probably be some folks that'll stand out as like, they might be getting pushed down the line here, maybe when new faces showing up. Lord knows we've had this problem before down there. So let's do that. Let's go to halftime. We come back. We'll have Indie Spotlight. And after that, we will look at everything all in Wembley Stadium this weekend. Stay with us, folks. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. We'll be back right after this.
A little birdie told me, everybody, that you may be interested in doing some sponsorship and advertising opportunities with us here at Big Gold Belt Media. You know what? You might as well, because we are the golden standard for all of your media needs. Why would you want to go anywhere else? Besides, all of your pre-roll ads, your mid-roll ads, as well as your on-air reads are going to be done by me, Damian G. Yeah, professional broadcaster, Damian G. We do all types of social media promotions. That means your podcast, your IG, your Facebook, your Twitter, and your business website all get shouted out on our network here at Big Gold Belt Media, where we cover wrestling, movies, comics, and more. And you can find out more information and make those inquiries, kids, because, limited time offer here at biggoldbeltgroup@gmail.com. Again, that is biggoldbeltgroup@gmail.com. Why would you want to go anywhere else? I wouldn't. Well, I work here, but I still wouldn't even if I didn't. So again, Big Gold Belt Media for all your sponsorship and advertising opportunities, your podcast, your IG, your Facebook, your Twitter, all of your social media platforms, as well as any business website you want us to promote on our show. biggoldbeltgroup@gmail.com, and let them know Damon G sent you.
Thanks for being with us here tonight, folks. We are back from halftime, and when we come back from halftime, we like to check out what's happening on the indie scene. So here's Giant Crab with this week's Big Gold Belt Podcast, Indie Wrestling Spotlight.
HOGWrestling.net, HOGWrestling.net, HogWrestling.net for House of Glory. September 5th, they're going to be in Chicago at the Logan Square Auditorium. That's at 2539 North Kedzie Boulevard in Chicago. Just off the blue line at Logan Square Station. Pretty damn famous indie wrestling venue in that Chicago area. It's going to be their big show, HOG Chicago. That's the it's Labor Day week. That Thursday after Labor Day. Show starts at 8 o'clock. You can get your tickets, hogwrestling.net. The big match that I'm really looking forward to is Mike Santana versus Dijak. And then you have Zilla Fatu versus Mustafa Ali, Chicago's very own. So that's going to be an interesting show. We were talking about how indie wrestling's, were just fly in moments and a lot of these matches. And, obviously because of the rise of television wrestling and stuff like that, we don't really get those moments anymore. But if I were in Chicago, I want to see Zilla Fatu versus Mustafa Ali, and I would see it in Chicago at the Kedzie Auditorium, Logan Square Auditorium on North Kedzie at Logan Square for House of Glory. And that's your Indie Spotlight Wrestling for this week.
There we go. Each and every Thursday, always get that spotlight out there. Check out what's happening on the indies so you know what's happening. This weekend, though, it is really all about Wembley. It's really just all about this damn show and what's going to be happening there. So we already talked about Ricochet. We have a whole rest of this card to look at here. And I've heard a lot of mixed reactions, it seems, to this crowd. I see a lot of people saying that last year seemed like a bigger deal. And Lord knows we talked last week about how I still think a lot of the draw of last year was simply just the idea of pro wrestling at Wembley Stadium for the first time since 1992. And it wasn't necessarily the show. But no, different strokes for different folks. Some people really care about the matches. But here we are a year later. We know there's not going to be as big of a crowd, but that said, it looks like they are past 50K mark on tickets. So there's still going to be a big damn crowd there, but not quite as packed as it was last year. But looking at this lineup right now, you know how this is. I'm sure there'll probably be some stuff added. Right now, we're at 10 matches. That sounds kind of light for a Jacksonville show.
Mm-hmm.
And only one on the pre-show at this moment. But I'll run this down real quick, and then we can go over what stands out to us. So on the pre-show, we got Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway against Willow Nightingale and Tomohiro Ishii as your pre-show opener. Now, going down the line, there's some big matches on here. This might be one I'm most interested in. Probably a lot of people are most interested in. Toni Storm defending the AEW Women's title against Mariah May. We have, as we mentioned earlier, MJF defending the American Championship against Will Ospreay. We have Jack Perry versus Darby Allin in a coffin match for the TNT Championship. We have Mercedes Moné versus Britt Baker for the TBS Women's title. We have the Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal. So who knows how many damn people will be in that. That's going to be your mystery match. And that is for the future AEW World title match. So, like we were mentioning about Ricochet, you want to insert him in there, have him win the thing, instant title challenger, one way to possibly go.
I feel like Adam Page is going to be in there.
I think he has said he is going to be in there. So we also have a couple more matches. We got Jericho versus Hook for the FTW title. That's something right there. 3-way tag team match for the World Tag titles. Young Bucks versus the Acclaimed versus FTR. Then, now this is just a damn car wreck waiting to happen here. 4-way London ladder match for the Trios titles. So, the Patriarchy, the Bang Bang Gang, the House of Black, and Blackpool Combat Club. So that's just throw a bunch of, that's 3 times 4. That's 12. Okay, 12 people in that match right there. How do you do
gotta
that?
give him a check. I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, there you go. Got to get people on the show one way or another between that and a battle royal. And last but not least, Swerve Strickland versus Bryan Danielson, title versus career for the AEW World title. That's our lineup as of this Thursday night.
Ooh.
Probably get 1 or 2 more things added, knowing AEW.
That's a lot just reading a card.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. And a lot of names, and not even counting the battle royal and stuff. Stellas, let's go to you first then. Sintel, what jumps out at you? What's got your attention?
So, I mean, I'm not going to lie. The Toni Storm and Mariah May match, I think that's going to steal the show. And I think that's nothing that's a hot take. I think that's just a fact of a matter that's going to happen. I think that's been built up very well as, once again, as a storyline implementation where you use the pay-per-view as the payoff of that feud. and you just hoping that it just matches up in the ring or whatever they do to sell that story to what's been built up prior to the event. So that's number one for me. An interesting, or I wonder, is the Darby Allin versus Jack Perry match. And the reason why I'm gonna come into what you said before the break, Will. So if you have Ricochet come in, I think the person that may get affected the most is Darby Allin, especially if he does not win. And I'm a little bit sad to say, because after Sting left, it's like Darby Allin's been hanging in there, but it's like he's finding his identity all over again, in my opinion. So I'm just hopeful that regardless if it's Jack Perry or Darby Allin, what you do with them is how do you make sure Darby Allin stays relevant? Because to me, him and Ricochet, 1A, 1B, where if you bring Ricochet in, he then overshadows that and maybe replaces Darby Allin.
All right. Gonna add some comments on that. So the Mariah May and Toni Storm match, whenever you get the fans to be behind both the face and the heels, is absolutely make for a good time. Yeah. So that build up, as you mentioned, has been fantastic, and I do agree that's the match that will have me locked in. Despite if I'm sitting on the couch or out and about, I will definitely want to see that one as it airs. I think the Jack Perry and Darby Allin match, I also looked at that because it goes back to something Jamal said earlier, but essentially these are the pillars. So as we really evaluate, you talk about going back, looking the year at All In. I mean, I think we have to constantly think about the start of AEW and where does the pillars exist. And I agree with you with your sentiments of Darby, even though he continues to be a fan favorite. And Jack has been really trying to find his way post everything CM Punk. But like, again, these are the pillars. So we always tend to have to look at them as I feel they define AEW, and everything that AEW stands for is with them along with MJF. And then the match I definitely think I'm interested in is the 4-way London ladder match, because
cluster.
Guilty pleasure, but I used to love those commercials when they used to show the crash dummies and they was hitting the wall and we were seeing how they were flying out.
Yes.
Yeah, I know in theory it's kind of like really fucked up, but like honestly, it was kind of cool.
It'll be a demolition derby.
Yeah, that's what I see with this match here. Yes. Like, expect that to go off the rails and just be on the news by the end of the night of about just a major catastrophe of sorts. So I think that should be somewhat fun and entertaining. And we'll see what happens there. And I'm I should say too, very much been loving Swerve Strickland's run. I just hope I have the gas to watch that match by the end of the night. That's literally my issue with watching some of these, is by then I don't even have the same energy I had upon watching. And even if I'm dipping in or dipping out, it's still damn near 11 o'clock at night, and I'm just done.
This will be during the day with the time difference, but that's a matter of being in the way of just
I bet it.
That's lunch and dinner plans on that show.
Yeah, I bet it still reeks near 10 or 11 o'clock. So we'll see. And yeah, that's about it for me.
So the show starts at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Pacific, 8 a.m. in Hawaii, and 6 p.m. Local time.
Oh, so better not get to 10.
So if that show does go 9 hours, then we've got a problem. The pre-show on YouTube is actually set for 11 a.m. Eastern. So, so that'd be, kind of cool to just build up the whole thing. I am interested in the show. I haven't really been interested in AEW recently. Toni Storm versus Mariah May is the only storyline worth a damn right now in the company. Everything else I could really take or leave. Ricochet doesn't necessarily move me, but I think because it's Sunday at 1 o'clock, and if I'm not at the Orioles game, I'll be watching it live. I mean, that really does, it'll be a coin flip as to what it comes down to. I think that Jack Perry versus Darby Allin is kind of like the proven ground match for reasons that were already stated. Perry has been doing yeoman's work as the TNT champion. Darby without Sting. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I think that, we haven't seen Sting, and it is a coffin match. The Crow comes out this weekend. I'm just saying.
Stop it.
I'm just saying.
Stars
en route.
align.
If I haven't Stretch Armstrong reached there.
I'm just saying.
Sting is probably en route as we speak.
I'm just saying. If you work for a UK border force and you just come across a Steve Borton, let us know. But I'm just saying, like, I don't see why that wouldn't happen. As far as Darby needing the win, I don't think he needs the win because he really should be in the World Heavyweight title picture, and with whatever that looks like.
Yep.
If he wants to win the title, the time is now. If he really doesn't give a shit, then it is what it is. I don't think he's long for AEW anyway. He's always said that he doesn't want to do this forever being shorter sooner than later. So, I know all eyes are on Danielson, but realistically, especially after the injury that preceded his Everest trip and a bunch of other things, he got hit by a bus, recently. Darby is mortal. Even though he eats concrete for breakfast, Darby is mortal, and I think him and Jack Perry are going to beat the hell out of each other. But I also think that we may see the Crow, sponsored by the Crow, hashtag the Crow lives in England. I'm just saying that would be the place for kind of like a spot like that to kind of bring up the energy again.
At 6% at Rotten Tomatoes at this rate, they might be that desperate to try to figure out a way. Lionsgate might be making a call right now saying, please, there's no way we can let Borderlands have
wait. Whoa. Well, The Crow's the Lionsgate movie?
It is.
And it's at 6%?
6%.
Oh, shit, they're killing it then. That's Lionsgate. That's what they do. I mean, yeah. As soon as I knew Borderlands was a Lionsgate movie, I already knew what time it was. But
hey, I think it's a Lionsgate distribution, and it's not John Wick Lionsgate. Okay, so
that's a different situation right there. But this is the wrestling podcast. The movie podcast come later. What I'm saying is that the long and short of it is that's the match that's probably the most interesting to me, aside from Toni Storm and Mariah May. It'll be interesting to see what Jack and Darby do for the TNT title, because I think that of the surprises that aren't surprises, and I really do hope Ricochet does show up. Like, now, the more that I think about it, the more that I'm like, no, fuck him. Just have him go to where are they, in South Dakota next week for Dynamite or something, or Collision. Have him go to Mount Rushmore and debut him there. Give Rapid City a chance, but I think that the other matches are just big filler matches that eat a lot of time. A 3-way tag, a 4-way ladder match, and a casino gauntlet. That's an hour right there. That's an hour plus.
That casino gauntlet is going to eat up a big damn chunk of time.
Right.
I don't know. I keep looking at that Jericho and Hook match, and I'm like, why?
That's going 40 minutes.
Listen, what we're not talking about is probably what Jericho's contract says, and it makes perfect sense why these things are happening.
Oh no, he's gonna get his performance in there to they put on his band resume that they played Wembley Stadium twice now. Mm-hmm. He's already said that Fozzy will be playing them out to the ring. So, yes, he's gonna get that in there. Yeah. So it's I don't know. I've heard mixed reactions to this show, and it's like, looking at it, it's like there's some bright spots in there, but then there's absolutely some dark corners that really stand out. But I don't know. I go back. I look at last year's. I look back at last year's though. They did a lot of multi-people matches last year. Looking at last year's lineup, so I guess the idea was they were trying to get so many people on the show in case this was like the only time they could do it. But I don't know. Last year, I think there was just so much more. There was so much more hype, of course, just because the first show at Wembley and AEW running a stadium and all that, and you don't have that this year. So, I'm not sure what to expect from it.
I mean, I know I can really speak for myself that the venue and the location always becomes a draw to going to these events. And if these things wasn't a pivotal part in terms of the fan experience, then people wouldn't be so locked in terms of where WrestleMania is going to be at. And hell, if it didn't matter, WrestleMania probably would have been in Minnesota. But the fact that people wanted it to be somewhere and logistics and so on, and probably brokered a better deal, forced it to be to Vegas, and then Minnesota ends up getting SummerSlam or something for 2 nights. Like, people care about these things. If they didn't, they wouldn't matter. They would just go wherever it is. So the fact that we went 1 year and we're doing it again, it's like it loses that bit of razzle dazzle. That's why I used to love going to Chicago for shows, because it was a thing with the crowd, and whenever it circled the block to come to Chicago, it was a thing. I know I can always go to Chicago for a show at least once a year. When I say at least, I probably should be saying minimum a year, once a year, because that's just a common place now. It's common stomping grounds. But like, you hit a new territory, you hit a new venue, that starts to pique my interest. That starts to, like, the creativity behind it, the set, how they establishes the sets, all those sorts of different things matter.
I want to agree with that, but I think if they have WrestleMania, anywhere, people would go. If WrestleMania were at Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City, people would go because it's WrestleMania in Kinnick City.
It would have been in Minnesota if that was the case. No one wanted it in it. They bullied Minnesota out of that.
No, yeah, like, you're right, because Vegas as a city, their tourism board, their lobbying group is much bigger as a tourist destination than Hennepin County, Minnesota. So you were not talking about the same thing, because if it was the difference between Vegas and Los Angeles, that's an apples to apples comparison. If it was the difference between New York and Miami, that's an apples to apples. These are tourist destinations, not South Central Minnesota. So realistically,
the sizzle ain't the same.
It's not the same. It's not the same. And I love Minneapolis. It's a beautiful city, and I can't wait to go to SummerSlam for both nights. But that is kind of to your point. That's because it's at US Bank Stadium, which is a great football facility in general. It looks like an evil, secret hideout, in the middle of town. There's some like Lex Luthor uses that as a summer home, but it's a beautiful stadium. Can't wait to go for SummerSlam because it's in that building. With that said, though, if it were in, Little Rock, Arkansas, and it's WrestleMania, I would probably have the same amount of interest to go in as if it were in Los Angeles because it's WrestleMania. So I think it is a bit of both, where the event itself presents itself as this gotta go bucket list moment, and it's in a city that is a place of interest too. So I think that's what sells WrestleMania, because nobody gives a shit about Philadelphia, town. Nobody's going to Philadelphia.
Brand. It's an established brand these days.
They thought they did till they showed up. I had warned people bright and early. I said Philadelphia is Philadelphia, folks. Just remember that.
Nobody's going to Cleveland. Nobody's going back to Cleveland and go like, this was where they had SummerSlam, you guys. Nobody's going back to Cleveland for no reason, but they went for SummerSlam.
Here's a quick question. Looking at last year and looking at this year, just at the main events. Last year, it was MJF versus Adam Cole with the whole, are they friends? Are they going to stay friends? Are they going to break up? Whatever. That was your main event last year, compared to this year with Swerve and Bryan Danielson, title versus career. What's the hotter main event of those two?
This year. And also, it's funny that none of us mentioned Mercedes Moné in anything that we discussed.
No.
I'm just saying, like, that was supposed to be
I'll tell you why. Mover. For me, it's because of the dentist. I don't give a damn about the dentist.
Never have.
I love Britt Baker, and I think that she's a Stephanie McMahon of AEW, carrying the women's division on her back since the beginning.
Did she create women's wrestling in AEW?
Well, I mean, she facilitated it. Based on the recipe, the cookbook that Stephanie McMahon drummed up. She definitely brought it to life. However,
she definitely sounds like the judge, jury, and executioner of the women's locker room.
Okay, wait a minute. That's speculation and hearsay. We don't do that here. She's not the type of girl. That's a different dentist. You're talking about Isaac Yankem. That's a different dentist. But I think that as much as I love Britt, I just don't care about Monet. As much as I love Danielson, I don't give two squirts about Strickland.
Put that match in on the pre-show. Throw Stokely in that match for a triple threat.
Honestly, the comedy match needs to be on the show.
Yeah,
realistically, but I do think that yes, to answer your question, Will, title versus career is going to be hotter than Are they friends? You know, that's yeah.
I am tired of the best friend angle in all of pro wrestling. I just hate it. I hate it. Especially for the women. They always got to be best friends. And I just hate it. I hate it.
But I also think that one thing that this All In has that the other one doesn't is All Out looming over its shoulder.
It's not a whole week later. Or
it's got a good 2 weeks. We can throw a Dynamite in there. We don't necessarily have to rush to the next pay-per-view. There's some time, and and next year they're not even doing this setup again next year. It's going to be something completely different in the UK. But I think that helps as well, kind of giving this show its own identity this year, and not having to worry about, well, if this match is happening and it goes down this way, then it has direct implications of the actual pay-per-view that people know they want to see next week. We don't have to think like that anymore necessarily, or it's not as apparent as it was last year, which helps this show become its own thing.
All right.
True. Are we going to have any backstage drama like last year? Because Lord knows the most memorable thing last year was the fight that opened the show.
I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to emulate that to some extent. I would not be surprised if Jack Perry plays towards it or the Bucks or somebody, but reassurance that there will be some type of commentary towards the camera about that.
There'll be something to acknowledge the fight with old CM Punk last year.
If Jack Perry doesn't come out with like 3 suction cups carrying a giant plane of real glass, then what are we talking about?
This is true.
All right, what we got last now? What else?
Let's see. Adrian Arco got one more thing for here. I'll be hyped as soon as Final Countdown hits on Sunday. I'm just gonna enjoy the show with a good drink. Yep, I mean that's it. The Sunday afternoon time slot definitely helps.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Perfect time before football Sunday too. Perfect time before football Sunday.
You and your damn football. Wait from 1 to 5 o'clock. I'm good with that.
Yeah, that definitely is going to help. That this will not be looming at midnight like many an AEW show does. Yeah. Oh, okay. We got about 8 minutes. What else we want to get into? We kind of tore through the show. So
I thought it was funny last week how we didn't mention about Bryan Danielson fighting off intruders. Did you hear about that on the news? No, somebody broke into his house and he wasn't having that, and he L'd him out till the cops came. No one heard this.
No,
I missed this. I somehow missed this completely.
Let me pull this up.
I need some deets on this.
And it was a home invasion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? No. This was old. I'm sorry. This was old. I don't know why the algorithm hit it. Yeah, I'm looking. I was like, wait. How did nobody know about this?
I think I would have heard about that.
This is back in 2014.
Yeah, this was. Why did the algorithm hit me like that?
Okay. To be fair, that's why we didn't hear about it. So there you go.
Okay,
we're not all crazy.
I saw last week. I have no clue why the algorithm would have hit me like that. And it did look very much like Danielson to date. So it's interesting, but. Okay, then I have nothing. I will say this though, which is relevant. We are getting ready to suit up for some coverage of the Queen of the Villains. I know we talked about a little bit last week, but yeah, we definitely going to have that coverage coming up. So, let us know if you're excited for it, and are you going to be checking it out once it releases? I believe the release date is
mid-September,
September 19th. So yeah, we're a little under a month, but nonetheless, yeah, that's going to be coming very soon.
For people that don't know, what is Queens of the Village? And also I Am People.
Oh, okay. So it is about as they title it as like Japanese most frightening heel. So it is taking place in Japan back in the 1980s, and it follows why is her name slipping out of my head?
Matsumoto.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and Netflix produced it, and it's 5 episodes, and the preview of it is shockingly like high quality. Where I was like, "Whoa, this is like they put some money into it." So I'm very curious about it.
And
The
I will
trailer
say
they released.
the lead actress, Yorion Retriever, I believe is how you pronounce it, the American way, of course, is really multi-hyphenate. There's a lot of reasons why you may know who she is, because she is definitely a fashion icon. She is a comedian. Her range is crazy. And so I'm beyond interested to see what she does in this capacity, because for my initial exposure for her was comedy bits, even a very viral clip of her doing something on America's Got Talent, the Japanese version, and to see her play a role that I would deem to be very revering and heelish, shall we say, in this case, is definitely going to be able to show us something. So I'm excited to see what's going to go on, and you all should be too.
Yeah. So that's September 19th on the Netflix. Officially on the website, it says Yuriya Retriever, Erika Karata, and Ayame Goriki star in this rousing throwback to the golden age of Joshi Porresru. So yeah, no, that's badass. So
5 episodes.
So who's playing Aja Kong? And you know,
I know we looked at the credits last week. Bull Nakano is going to be in it too. So they're all the Japanese greats are going to be featured. It looks like in one way or another.
I would hope so. Or is it like Glow and like it's an actual scripted drama, or is it like Dark Side of the Japanese?
I think it's more of like a biopic type.
Yeah,
this was supposed to be her story of growing up and getting into wrestling and surviving in that world.
So then, Young Rock, type of
without the comedy though. Not like a sitcom format though.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So a bit more serious meat on the bones, it looks like.
Yeah. But and the only reason why I say that because it says season 1, which suggests that A, there's more seasons, and B, it's more of a serial than it is just a movie or some kind of like anthology. But
yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, when it was first announced, I thought it was going to be a movie. So I was surprised. It was like, no, it's a series. It's 5 episodes. So, we will be getting into this. So soon enough, we'll be able to talk in more detail about it. Anything else? We got a couple minutes left. Anything else, guys, before we wrap it up here tonight?
So, 2 things. Of course, the rumors came out that Ricky Starks may be a free agent right now. Tony Khan says, no, that's not the case. And we were talking about, well, who gets bumped if Ricochet shows up? I think that there you go. So if you have a guy like Ricky Starks who's halfway in, halfway out,
Ricky,
as it seems like that would be unfortunate. But now the question is, even if Ricky Starks isn't a free agent right now, do they even bother resigning? Like, do they bother resigning him or a few other bid players whose contracts will be up within the next year? If you're a guy like Wheeler Yuta, who I love, or Starks, who I love, is it kind of like, do you got to get your resume ready? Because they're bringing in guys like, Ricochet. And I'm sure Ali's going to be in there at some point or sometime or another. How do they there's not enough space for everybody. So how do they manage that?
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. The only other thing, and I guess we can make this really quickly, is Rich Swann done in TNA? It's not the fact that he was checked himself into rehab. It's not the fact that he was arrested, following this craziness at his apartment in Florida. It's all of it, because he's had a couple DUIs before. He's had a couple of run-ins with the law before, some domestic stuff before. And TNA is definitely trying to move in some direction. Will that go on without Rick Swann on the other side of whatever his rehab stint is?
I'm hopeful it's not. I'm hopeful this is just a downfall before his uptick again, because I really had a lot of faith in him years ago based on what he was doing, his trajectory, things of that nature. I always thought he was very entertaining, but he just needs some support and help. So I hope this is not the end. If it's the end of TNA, that may be one thing. I just hope he can bounce back and maybe have that recovery story or rebuild story.
And pray for that whole family. That's the message.
Yeah.
I would say we've seen plenty of people in wrestling in far worse situations that always
Sure.
end up
Sure.
reappearing. Wrestling has a history of people will find a place to come back to if they want to come back to. So hopefully he puts in the work. And as far as TNA goes, who knows?
Yeah.
With where everything's so much in flux there with what moves they're making and who's in charge and all that. But hopefully, he does some work in this couple months coming up and finishes out this year in a better place. I think the best we can hope for Rich Swann right now.
100% agree. There's wrestling, of course. We love wrestling, but it is still a job. You got to take care of you first, and if there is no you, then there is no anything else. So hopefully, Rich comes out better for whatever the situation is. I don't know if he comes back to TNA after this, just because then he needs them more than they need him, and maybe actually it's just best for him to just go out on his own and do his own thing and just completely reset. Take some time away from wrestling if he needs to, and just come back his best ever. Because the only thing that we are all collectively doing is getting older, and especially if you are in that business, it's going to be a bit tough to keep the thing going. Which is kind of like Ricochet is 35. How much spring does he have in his step? That's the thing that we're going to have to see if he is, in fact, going to be a part of AEW too. So, good. So good luck to Rich Swann. Still rooting for him, but yeah, you gotta get better, bro.
Yep.
There we go. All right. Well, let's wrap it up on this week, folks. Thanks for being here with us. Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast is live each and every week, breaking down the week in wrestling. So I know next week we will have Wembley to talk about, and who knows what else. We'll also be on the road to Bash at Berlin next week. So kind of already got stuff on our plate going into next week, which is always.
Isn't No Mercy soon? NXT?
It's next.
Oh, that's next weekend too. Double shows next week. We're pretty much got next week's show, I think, probably already figured out right here with just all that happening. Yeah, there'll be No Mercy, there'll be Bash at Berlin, and we'll be coming out of Wembley. So
and also SmackDown is here this week. SmackDown's here tomorrow.
Yep.
Yes, it is. SmackDown is in town tomorrow night. Apparently, my daughter's going with a friend of hers. So I will get live. I will give live reports from Hobo, and I can share them next week.
Our friend, huh? Is it a boy? Because I may be there just in case.
We pulling up.
Uncle Two Chains.
She said we all going, right? Okay.
Right, Uncle Crab is going to be in the building. Just let her know.
Yeah. Everyone keep an eye out for the Hobo, because apparently she'll be there. I know the girl she's going with, so she's got a family she's going with.
Yeah.
Popped up on her. So, who knows? She might be tricking her old man already on that stuff.
No, we ain't doing that. We ain't playing
middle school's around the corner.
There you go. So next week we will have a packed show. So you'll want to be here Thursday nights, 8 p.m. next week, because we already know there's going to be a lot to talk about. In the meantime, let's see. Let me run it down here. On social media, it's at Big Gold Belt across the board for X, Instagram, all that good stuff at Big Gold Belt. On the web, it's biggoldbelt.com. Where you can find Big Gold Belt media, wrestling, movies, comics, and more. Since we have the boss man here, what else we got going on the entertainment side right now? As we talked about Queen of the Villains, what else is up?
I got just a bunch of just random little interviews, reviews dropping. The movie The Killer that's on Peacock should be dropping soon. Crescent City, Terrence Howard's movie, along with what's his name that just had that incident on Rust. I keep forgetting his name.
Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin. Yes, he's in the film. Yeah, well, he was found not liable for that, so he's back to work. I think that's it. But yeah, forever there's always going to be some new stuff, so just keep.
There's always going to be new stuff. BigGoldBelt.com for all the entertainment stuff, because I said this is more than just wrestling. It's wrestling, movies, comics, and more. You can keep up with all of it at BigGoldBelt.com. So until next time, folks. 8 p.m. next week, we'll be back. We will have a lot to talk about. We will see you on the other side of Wembley. So until then, folks, stay safe, and we will talk to you later.